Good afternoon, fam. I'm back, and I'm back to bring you some updates and some information on some different stuff that's going on that you need to know. Some information that I need to share and some stuff that we need to talk about. But first and foremost, I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's staying safe, and I hope everybody's being smart. For those of you who are on code, please stay on code. For those of you who are not on code, get on code as soon as possible. And again, being on code means simply that you go by a code of conduct. You don't say or do anything that will be detrimental to the foundational Black American community, the Black community as a whole, but specifically the foundational Black American community. That's what being on code means. You don't publicly do or say anything, privately as well, but you definitely don't publicly do or say anything that will be detrimental to the foundational Black American community as a whole. Okay? And so let's get into this right quick, because I don't want to be here too long. I'll probably be here for about an hour, but I don't want to be here too long because I got some things I need to do. So let's get right into this. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to bring a few updates on some stuff that that happened. Well, one case happened a couple of years ago, and another case just happened last year. Now, the family of the black boy who was assaulted and was accused of stealing this Maya chick's telephone. Her family has filed a lawsuit, right? And this comes from yahoo.com, and let me just read you a little bit about this as far as this lawsuit is concerned. And it came out today, March 24th, 2021, and it says, like I said, it's in yahoo.com by Minnie Yvonne Burke. And the original story was from NBC News. Family of black teen accused of stealing cell phone files lawsuit. The parents of a black teenager who was attacked at a New York City hotel after a woman falsely accused him of stealing her cell phone filed a lawsuit Wednesday over the incident. The suit is against Maya Ponsetto, the Arlo Soho Hotel, and a hotel manager. Kenyon Harold Jr., who was 14 at the time, was in the lobby of the Arlo Soho in December with his father, jazz musician Kenyon Harold, when Ponsetto accused him of stealing her iPhone. Ponsetto had left the iPhone in an Uber and it was eventually returned to her. So she had actually left her iPhone in an Uber. But as soon as she saw this black boy, and he was with his father at the time, they had just come down to the lobby of this hotel. As soon as she saw him with his iPhone, she immediately accused him of stealing her phone. Cell phone video that Harold Sr. posted on social media showed Ponsetto accosting the father and son and yelling for them to show me my phone. A man in the video who identified himself as the hotel manager can also be heard asking to see Harold Jr.'s phone. Security camera video showed Ponsetto, 22, rushing at and tackling the teenager. So she didn't just falsely accuse him of stealing her phone. As we all know, she actually assaulted this boy. She actually physically assaulted him. The New York City Police Department said that the teen's father sustained scratches on his hand during the attack. No other injuries were reported. It doesn't make any difference whether any injuries were reported or not. She still, first of all, falsely accused him. Then second of all, she, a 22-year-old grown woman, physically attacked and assaulted a 14-year-old minor, a child. But again, you have to remember that as far as white supremacy is concerned, black children aren't black children. Black children become adults at the age of 5, 6, 7 years old. So they don't see a black 14-year-old male the same way they would see a white 14-year-old male. You know, you got folks running around calling this Aaron Robert Long dude who did this mass shooting in Atlanta at the massage parlors, you got folks running around calling him a 21-year-old kid. So it doesn't matter whether there were any injuries or not. The fact was, these people were attacked. These people were physically attacked. And any injuries that they sustained them because of the physical attack. Harrell Sr. Suggested that racial bias played a role in the incident. Attorney Ben Crump said Wednesday that when a woman who is presumed to be white accuses a black person of a crime, normally everybody accepts the word of the white woman. And that's exactly what happens, and we're gonna feed more into that, and we're gonna show more evidence of that in just a little bit when I update the other case that I want to talk about. Crump is representing the Harrells along with attorney Paul Nepali. Now, you know, these black folks running, getting Ben Crump, you know, and Lee Merritt, you know, after Tamir Rice's mom Samara just came out and put all of them on blast. Why black folks keep dealing with Ben Crump is beyond me. Because Ben Crump is not there to support black empowerment. Ben Crump is there as part of the white establishment. You understand what I'm saying? To get these black folks to settle these things out of court. You understand what I'm saying? And to settle these situations and to take the money and it becomes hush money. After the settlement comes through, the family goes somewhere and is quiet and doesn't have anything else to say. So why these black folks keep dealing with Ben Crump is beyond me. But anyway, he's the one he's part of the team that's representing this family. Ponsetto, who lives in California, was charged with attempted robbery, grand larceny, acting in a manner injurious to a child, and 2 counts of attempted assault. That was not attempted assault. If she actually tackled this child, it was flat out assault. According to NBC New York, attorney Sharon Gotton, or whatever, who is representing Ponsetto in an unrelated case, said her client was in New York City visiting her father when she lost her phone. Things took a life of their own, Guanton previously said, denying that the incident was a race-related issue. Maya is young. She let her emotions get the best of her. That phone could have been in the hand of a 90-year-old grandma, an Asian person. See, she trying to throw in that Asian thing. Someone black or blue, she said. Guanton said that her client, who has family roots in Puerto Rico, was in an emotional and anxious state and made a mistake when she falsely accused the teenager of theft. She lost her mind for a hot minute and is sorry. See, when it comes to these white folks and when it comes to white supremacy, supporting white supremacy and protecting white supremacy, it's always a mental issue. It's always an emotional issue when these white folks commit crimes against black people. It's always something wrong with them, just like they said about this Robert Aaron Long dude, that he was that he had just had enough. He was fed up. You understand what I'm saying? He had come to the end of his rope and he had a bad day. And now they want to try to act like it was a mental something that was wrong with him. He had sexual addiction. He had sexual issues, and it was sexually motivated and not racially motivated. Okay? Where is it? Ponsetto attempted to defend her actions in a wild interview in January with CBS This Morning host Gayle King. See, Gayle King is going to always go in. You understand what I'm saying? They're going to always use Gayle King to go in and interview these white folks. You understand what I'm saying? Or these identifying white folks. But again, remember, Gayle King didn't interview, and they didn't use Gayle King to interview Leah Taylor, the girl that was the black woman that was physically assaulted and almost killed by the NFL player Chad Wheeler. They didn't use Gayle King to interview her. But anytime it's white folks that have done something wrong to black people, or anytime it's a black man involved in some kind of crime or something like that, they'll hurry up and get Gayle King to do that interview. But they didn't get Gayle King to interview Aaliyah Taylor because Aaliyah Taylor was talking about a white man that had attacked her and almost killed her. right? The footage shows me attacking his son. Attacking him. How? Poncetta says. Yelling at him. Okay, I apologize. Can we move on? Basically, I'm a 22-year-old girl. I don't. Racism. How is one girl accusing a guy about a phone a crime? So when she calls herself a girl, she's playing right into the white supremacist role. You understand what I'm saying? The role of, yeah, even though I'm a 22-year-old adult, look at me like I'm a child. And look at me like I was the same age as this guy, and I'm just a girl attacking a guy. I'm not a grown woman attacking a minor child, assaulting a minor child. When King pressed Poncetta about the incident, Poncetta abruptly cut King off, telling her, all right, Gail, enough. Reminding Gail of her position. Reminding Gail, you supposed to be here to help defend me. You supposed to be here to help put the right spin on this thing and to push the right narrative. You're not supposed to be here pressing me for no answers. So, that's all. It's not much more on this story. But, of course, this article will be linked in the description box. But I just wanted to update and let you know that the family has decided that they were going to file a lawsuit not only against her, but a lawsuit also against the hotel and against the hotel manager. Because in the video, you can see the hotel manager going along with her and kind of favoring her. You understand what I'm saying? Why? Because again, like they said, black folks, and especially young black men, have been so criminalized in this country that the minute somebody white accuses them of a crime, well, they just automatically got to be guilty. When it comes to black folks, especially young black men or black men, period, it is no longer innocent until proven guilty. It is guilty until you can prove that you're innocent. But I just wanted to bring you that update on that case. Now I want to go to the next and most important case that has been updated. And that is a case that hold on, let me pull this up. All right, and this is a case that came out in April of 2019. You understand what I'm saying? So it's been well over a year. It's going into 2 years. And I did 2 videos on this case on here on my channel, and I'll have both of those linked in the description box as well, as well as Tarian Rain Reloaded, Dr. Boyce Watkins. There were several people that did videos and did lives and all of this kind of stuff talking about this case. And this is the case of the young man Albert Wilson. And now, if I'm not mistaken, no, that's not the one I want. I want the link about. Okay. This case, this took place back in September 2016 when Albert was 21 and the white girl that accused him of rape was 17 at the time. And you can go back and you can watch the videos and get the full story, and the links to all the information and everything are also in those videos. But he was accused of raping this 17-year-old girl that he met in a bar. So the first question that should have been asked and should have been dealt with was, why was this 17-year-old even in the bar? And not only was she in the bar, but she was in the bar drinking, right? And there's video and everything in the bar of her all over this guy, all over Albert, just hanging on him and jumping on him and pulling on him and all of this. But to make a long story short, he was accused of raping this young woman, and the judge decided that yes, there was enough evidence to take him to trial. And after the trial, he was sentenced to 12 years in prison for rape. But you have to remember, this was the case of the young black man that never even had sexual intercourse with the young woman. They found DNA from his saliva on her chest where he had kissed her. But there was no evidence of any penetration, no DNA, no semen, no nothing where they had ever had any kind of actual sexual intercourse, right? And they were only in his apartment for like 5 minutes. And his buddy called him, told him to come back to the bar. So he cut short whatever was going on between him and her. He cut it short of them actually having any kind of sexual intercourse. And she got mad. But anyway, that's just a short version of how this thing went. Like I said, the links to the videos on this, which give full details about this case, will be in the description box of this video. But anyway, what I want to tell you is this, and this is coming from WIBW.com. Albert Wilson met by supporter rally outside following release. So he has finally been released. He was sentenced in 2019. He has finally been released. He is 25 years old now, and he has finally been released after 2 years. This was by Joseph Hennessy, and it was published March 23rd, 2021. Albert Wilson was greeted by cheers and tears Tuesday afternoon following his release from the Douglas County Judicial and Law Enforcement Center. He has been serving a 12-year sentence for a rape conviction in 2019, but is now getting a new trial after a judge found his trial lawyer, and he had a white public defender. Do I need to say more? He had a white public defender at the time. Okay, I had to take a drink. He is now getting a new trial after a judge found his trial lawyer in the initial trial failed to review hundreds of text messages between Wilson and his accuser, who was 17 years old at the time. They met at a popular bar near the University of Kansas campus. And in the other videos, when we first talk about this, we talk about some of the issues that this bar had about allowing underage people to come in. You understand what I'm saying? Into this bar. His new representation said he's adjusting and that it's a bit of a shock, but they are hopeful to resolve it. Attorney Josh Dubin with the Innocence Project, who is co-counsel for Wilson, said the support he received today and throughout the process matters. It keeps us going as fighting for Albert, but most importantly, it's not about us, it's about him, and kept him going when he was away and praying for this day. But we're only a part of the way home, he said. Last week, a Douglas County judge ordered a new trial in the Wilson case along with setting the new trial date. The Douglas County District Attorney said she and Wilson's attorney hope to resolve the case in good faith before then. Michael Wallen, attorney and co-counsel for Wilson, agreed with Dubin when he said they did not want another trial. Dubin said, "I think this has been a long, hard, emotional fight for all parties involved, and we're grateful for the way the justice system is now working." Now working. You understand what I'm saying? So basically what he's saying is it's now working. It wasn't working like it was supposed to in the original case. And it really, really didn't, because none of the evidence showed any rape. Okay? He was allowed to leave the prison, but with conditions. A $75,000 bail, ankle monitoring. He's not allowed to post on social media, talk to media, or name the accuser. So that's a whole lot more requirements than even Kyle Rittenhouse, when they released him on bond. He didn't have to wear an ankle bracelet. He could go anywhere he wanted to go. We saw him in a bar drinking with his Proud Boys buddies and all of that. And then he just upped and moved to another place without informing anybody. You understand what I'm saying? But this is all this stuff this young man has to all the requirements that he has to meet. You understand what I'm saying? When there was no evidence against him in the first place. And he certainly was not charged with killing anybody. Family, friends, and supporters gathered outside the building to see him take those steps. Ari Davis, a supporter, said they don't get too many victories like this, especially in the brown and black. Oh, there they go. Especially, I mean, why you can't just say black? Why you can't just say black? Because this boy is not a part of, quote unquote, the brown community. When they say the brown community, they're usually talking about the Hispanic Latino community. This young man is not a part of either one. And neither was the so-called alleged victim. So why can't you just say black? See, this is the problem. This is why we can't get anywhere. This is the problem because we keep trying to acknowledge coalitions and alliances that don't exist. If these were Asian people or Hispanic people or Latino people, do you think for 1 minute that they would have included black? No. Especially in the black community. There's a lot of injustices that happen on an everyday basis. So when we see a small incremental win like this, is a win for the entire community, she said. That's my son playing a game, if y'all happen to hear him laughing. Dubbin, that's the lawyer, said it's not the end result they want to see, but it's the first step for Wilson to live his life outside bars again. Albert's a little overwhelmed. He knows what the case has meant, also respectful of the fact that there are people on the other side of this that have a different perspective, even though we disagree with it. He has carried himself with strength and honor and class all the way through, and he needs to be commended for that. Davis said, now Davis is again this Ari Davis, whoever that is. When you see a young man that's doing the right thing, going to college, getting his education, and then he's convicted wrongfully of a crime that he didn't commit, we all have to stand up for that. There's no one that needs to be silent when someone is wrongly convicted. So this is what you see. And all across our world, everyone is happy. It's a win for all of us. Again, she's trying to be inclusive of everybody. No, this ain't a win for all of us. This is a step forward, maybe for the black community or for this particular case. But this ain't a win for all of us. This is not a win for Asians. This is not a win for Hispanics. This is not a win for Middle Easterners. This is not a win for any other group. This is ours and ours alone. Why? Because for hundreds of years, black men have been murdered, black men have been hung, black men have been lynched, black men have been castrated, black men have been burned, black men have been brutalized, black men have been imprisoned on the word of a white woman. And more often than not, it was found that that white woman lied. Whole communities have been destroyed on the word of a white woman, or because someone assumed, or because someone said a black man had done something to a white woman. Tulsa, Oklahoma, the whole thing started behind a black man and a white woman. Emmett Till, a white woman and a little black boy. So this is part of our history. This is part of black history and part of American history. So no, it's not a win for all of us. Because other groups of folks don't have that kind of history, don't have that kind of roots as far as this particular scenario is concerned. So again, parents, foundational black American parents, black parents, period, you need to be talking to your sons. You need to be educating your sons and your daughters. Because as we can see, this divest thing that black women got going on, divesting and telling everybody you need to date outside your race and you need to get you a white zaddy and all of that. As we can see, that's not turning out well for black women. So black parents, you need to educate your children, male and female, on all of this dating outside of their race, especially when it comes to the dominant society. But I just wanted to bring y'all this update, let y'all know that Albert is getting a new trial. Although I don't think he needs a new trial. I think the charges should have just been dropped. The whole thing should have just been dismissed and dropped. Whatever. They don't need to go through the process of all that time and money being spent and all that effort on a new trial. I mean, it's not like I think they intend to produce a whole lot of new evidence. You understand what I'm saying? That's just going to wipe it out completely. But giving him a new trial does not change the fact that this young man has been traumatized. 21 years old, he was a young man, he was in college. Like she said, he was trying to do the right thing, trying to steer his life in the right direction. And one night while he was out trying to party and have a good time, you understand what I'm saying? He ran into a Becky that was hot in the draws. You understand what I'm saying? And had a little bit too much to drink. And his whole life changed. Based on a lie. So this man is traumatized. So at the end of this, the least they can do is award him several $1 million. You understand what I'm saying? For him being falsely accused, falsely convicted, falsely imprisoned, the whole 9 yards. And you have to understand now, you have to remember, he was the one that cut short having any kind of real sexual relations with this girl. He's the one that cut short any kind of penetration, any kind of real sexual intercourse with this girl. There was no sex involved. And his whole life changed. So it wasn't a case of a white girl had sex with a black dude and everybody found out about it. So to cover her tracks, you understand what I'm saying? And because she was embarrassed or because people was talking about her and making her look bad, to cover her tracks, she lied and said he raped her. No. They never even had sex. So black parents, see, this is the stuff that we need to be warning our children about now. Not when they 15, 16, 17, but 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, as they growing up. We need to be continually warning them about this. And not just with the dominant society, but anybody outside of their own race. And even in some cases, inside their own race. Because there are black women that have gotten black men gaffled up on false accusations of rape and stuff like that. Now their reasoning may be different, but it happens. So we just have to prepare our children, boys and girls, and let them know what's really out there. And stop playing these games with these children and stop lying to them and stop presenting some fake false fantasy world out there for them that does not exist. And be honest with them and tell them the real truth about what they really gonna face when they get out there in the real world. But that's the update on Albert Wilson. He is getting a new trial. We will, you know, keep up with this and we'll keep you posted, you know, bring you updates and let you know what's going on as far as this is concerned. So now let's move on to the next story. And this is the story that mainstream media is pushing because, you know, they still trying, even in the face of all that white supremacy is doing. We got Aaron Robert Long that's done went and shot up all these massage parlors and killed all these Asian women. You understand what I'm saying? And they still refuse to call it a hate crime. They still refuse to call it a hate crime. You understand what I'm saying? You got mass folks that you can't even see, folks that you can't even really identify. You understand what I'm saying? Out just pushing Asians. Oh, and it's a hate crime. It's a hate crime. It's a hate crime. You understand what I'm saying? You got all of these fake attacks that just happen to be happening right in front of a camera, so you can get a perfect shot of everybody. You know, oh, it's a hate crime. It's a hate crime. But this white man goes in specific Asian businesses and guns down Asian people, but they don't call it a hate crime. You understand what I'm saying? Now you got the Boulder, Colorado dude who went in the supermarket and killed up all these people. I think they said he shot a police officer. I can't remember whether the police officer died or not. You know what I'm saying? And they brought him out. Of course, they all these white folks, they arrest them without incident. You understand what I'm saying? Don't hurt them. You understand? I think the Boulder, Colorado dude, I think they shot him in the leg. It's funny how when they dealing with other white folks, they can shoot a non-kill shot. But when it comes to black folks, it's shoot to kill. Shoot to kill is lethal. And now they trying to debate. Now the white supremacists are trying to debate and trying to act like this dude in Boulder, because they say he's from Syria, or his parents are from Syria or whatever. Now they're trying to debate that he's not white. When on the arrest information, it shows race and gender as sex as white male. He look white. He look white enough. You understand what I'm saying? So just by appearance sake, you understand what I'm saying? You're just looking at him. He look like a white dude. You understand what I'm saying? And that's all it takes. All it takes for you is for you to have the complexion for protection. So with all of this stuff that's going on and white supremacy just keeps coming out, you keep trying to push this narrative about black folks attacking Asians and black folks being the violent ones and black folks being the thugs. Remember, I told you, as others have told you in the new black media, that it's just a way to deflect. It's just a way to take the attention and take the heat off white supremacy, because white supremacy became the main issue because of that January 6th riot and insurrection up there in the state capitol. So everybody's so white supremacy was in an uproar. We got to take the heat off. We got to take the focus off of white supremacy. It's doing too much talking about white supremacy. People are not just talking about racism and discrimination anymore. People are actually calling it what it is: white supremacy, white supremacy. So we got to get the focus off of that, and we got to put the focus back on black folks. And we got to make them, instead of making them, allowing them to continue to be the victims of white supremacy. You understand what I'm saying? And showing that basically the whole world is the victim of white supremacy, because now you got the national capital that has been terrorized and victimized by white supremacy. Oh, we got to show the black folks as the victimizers, and take another group and make them the victims of black folks. Because we got to put the heat back on black people. And the more they try to do that, these white supremacists keep jumping up, or suspected white supremacists, let's say that. Suspected white supremacists keep jumping up saying, no. You're not going to take the attention away from us and focus it on black folks and Asians. But anyway, in the process of them trying to keep up with this propaganda, this fake false propaganda that black folks are targeting Asians, or that Asians are, just being, they just being the victims of so many hate crimes and so much violence and all of this. Well, a young black woman, and yes, she's Cambodian and black, but she's black. As far as white supremacy is concerned, she's black. You got to remember, as far as white supremacy is concerned, if you got one drop of black blood in you, you black. And they're going to treat you like you black. Okay? Well, this young black woman was killed in Compton, right? And Of course, mainstream media is running out trying to act like this is a part of this whole violence against Asians and all these hate crimes happening against Asians and all of this. So let me just read you a little bit of this. This is coming from News Shark, Yahoo.com, and they got it from News Shark. Family of woman fatally shot in Compton demands hate crime investigation. Now, most of mainstream media, when they first came out with this story, they were trying to call her an Asian woman. An Asian woman. An Asian woman shot and killed in Compton. An Asian woman killed in Compton, or whatever. But now that black folks on Twitter and social media and all of this are coming out pointing out the fact that this woman was black. You understand what I'm saying? And this woman was not just Asian, she was black. You understand what I'm saying? Now they've toned that down a little bit, and now they're coming out just calling her a woman or a victim or whatever. They're not putting that Asian in front of it. They're not trying to stress that Asian as much as they were now that they're being called out for it, right? A family of woman fatally shot in Compton demands hate crime investigation. This is from Brian Key. This was March 23rd, 2021. The family of a 28-year-old woman killed in a fatal shooting in Compton, California, is asking the police to look at the incident as a potential hate crime. What happened? Sia Marie Zhang, 28, was shot before 6 a.m. on March 20th on East K Street, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department said, according to KTLA. Officers discovered the woman with one gunshot wound to her lower torso. Authorities rushed Zhang to a local hospital where she was later pronounced dead. Officers are still investigating what happened before the shooting and the events leading up to it. The aftermath. Zhang's family held a press conference a day after the fatal shooting to urge the local police department to look at all possible angles of the killing, including anti-Asian hate crimes, the Los Angeles Times reported. Okay, her father is Cambodian, her mother is black and Native American. It says that she has Cambodian, black, and Native American descent. She has a 3-year-old son, and her son's name is, if I'm not mistaken, her son's name is Shakir, something like that, okay? So that right there lets you know that she didn't identify as Asian. Because had she identified as Asian, she would not have named her 3-year-old son a black name like Shakir. I think that's his name, Shakir, something like that. I'll make sure in a minute. Yeah, Shakur. That's her son's name, Shakur. Shakur. That's not a name that Asians name their children. You understand what I'm saying? So this woman didn't, just by her son's name, it infers that she identified as being black, right? Okay, let's go on. That's based on the GoFundMe. So her father's Cambodian, her mother was Asian American. I mean, her mother was black and Native American, according to this. Despite the call for an anti-Asian hate crime investigation, a spokesperson for the Sheriff's Department believed the case is not related to that. Authorities have yet to identify the shooter or the motive behind the killing. Now, let's listen to a little bit of the video because I want you to listen to this aunt, because it's funny how the only family members that have come out to say anything are her family members on the black side. Her Asian family members, as far as I know, at this time, still haven't come out and made any kind of public statement. The only people to come out and make any kind of public statement are her black relatives, her black aunt and uncle. You understand what I'm saying? And these folks ain't light-skinned. These folks are black. Period. Okay?
Department is investigating this homicide, but the victim's family fears that it could have been racially motivated, and they're calling on the Sheriff's Department to open up a hate crime investigation. Heartache and grief have consumed this family over the loss of Sia Marie Jean of Fontana. A memorial sits where the 28-year-old mother was shot at an apartment complex in the 1600 block of East K Street in Compton early Saturday morning.
She's a free-spirited person, filled with a whole lot of love and compassion.
Now what you hear now is the aunt. And of course this article will be linked in the description box so you can go and you can look at this video and you can see this black aunt. You understand what I'm saying? Just a regular foundation, what she looks like, just a regular foundational black American woman. Right? Standing here beside this Asian attorney.
So it's really hard for me to understand. For somebody to hate her so bad, to want to kill her. I have no understanding at all.
Sheriff's deputies found Zhang bleeding on the sidewalk with a gunshot wound to the lower torso. She was taken to a local hospital where she later died.
We are standing here at the point of death where she ran down.
Now this is the Asian attorney. You understand what I'm saying? So see, they haired up and got these coon ass family members. You understand what I'm saying? To come up here and they haired up and ushered in an Asian attorney for them. You understand what I'm saying? All a part of the setup. To, you know, all you got to do is offer these folks a little bit of money. You understand what I'm saying? Or let them get their 15 minutes of fame or whatever, or make them think that they're going to get some kind of notoriety, or they're going to get money, or whatever the case may be. You understand? How did this family all of a sudden end up with just that quick an Asian attorney? This black family. Remember now, a black family. Because the Cambodian side of her family, the Asian side of her family ain't saying nothing. They ain't doing no press conferences. They ain't saying nothing. They ain't calling this no hate crime. They ain't coming out pushing that whole blacks against Asian hate crime, stop Asian hate. They ain't pushing none of that. They ain't saying nothing. So all they did was went to the black members of the family, probably offered them a little bit of money or whatever the case may be, and told them, we're going to send you this Asian woman to be your attorney, and you know, we need you to come and we need you to say that you want this investigated as a possible hate crime. Because like I said, how did this black family, and I think the family was in Compton. I think the family lives in Compton. Now, she lives somewhere else. She didn't live in Compton. She grew up in San Diego and she lived in Fontana. It was still unclear what she was doing in Compton on the day of the shooting. Especially, okay, they found her shot at 6 o'clock in the morning. What was she doing in Compton, you understand what I'm saying, before 6 o'clock in the morning, if she lived in Fontana? So they done went and offered this family some money or whatever the case may be, and then told them, we'll supply the lawyer for you and all of that. We just need you. Okay, so why does this family need a lawyer? Ain't none of them being charged with nothing. So you see the setup. So the Asian lawyer comes in to push this thing as a crime, a hate crime against an Asian woman. But the irony is, the Asian side of the family ain't saying nothing. The Asian side of the family ain't even participating in this. It's these cooning black folks that they done offered some money to, that's out being willing to push this lie. You understand what I'm saying? Why? Because if she just black, ain't nobody gonna care. If she just a black woman that was shot in Compton, ain't nobody gonna care. If she just a black woman that's shot in Compton, you ain't gonna get all of this coverage, and they pushing it as a hate crime, and the police, you know, doing extra stuff to investigate and all that. You ain't gonna get all that. That's an insult. And the black side of the family should have been insulted. So the only way we can get any attention drawn to this, the only way we can get any real help, the only way we can get the police department to investigate this and take this seriously is we got to bolster up and we got to push up and we got to emphasize her Asian side. Because as a black woman, it don't matter that she dead. It don't matter that somebody killed her, that somebody shot and left her for dead. As a black woman, that don't matter. So instead of the family being willing to go along with this, you understand what I'm saying? They ought to be offended and insulted and ought to be out speaking against it and saying, okay, so what you telling us is the only way we can get any real attention to our loved one being murdered is, or being shot and left for dead is, we gotta push up and we gotta emphasize her Asian side. Because right now, you understand what I'm saying? That's the trend. But if we present her as what she is, a black woman, an Asian, black and Asian woman, then the black part ain't gonna get no coverage. Ain't nobody gonna care nothing about the fact that another black woman is dead. Now this is the Asian attorney.
And you could see the trail of blood.
Detectives do not have a motive or a suspect, but given that she is of Asian descent, her father being Cambodian, the family wants her murder to be investigated as a possible hate crime.
This young woman is of Asian descent. We've unfortunately seen an increase in the murder of Asian women
now listen,
nationwide.
That's the uncle. That's the uncle cooning it up. Told you they done offered these broke poor niggas in Compton some money. You understand what I'm saying? And then promised them a couple of coins. Or maybe then told them that there's a possibility they might be able to get some kind of lawsuit going or something like that. And they willing to go in and push the propaganda.
Recent attack left 6 Asian women dead in Atlanta area spas. The incidents part of a growing pattern of violence against Asian Americans.
We have injustice upon us, the Asian community, and we ask for solidarity among all the communities. Stand with us so that we can find justice and we can...
But when have Asians ever stood with black folks? All of these police murders of unarmed black men. When did the Asian community stand with us? When did the Asian community show us any solidarity? When did the Asian community get out and march with us? As a whole. When did they come together and band with us in the thousands like they did against us for Peter Liang when he shot and killed and murdered Akai Gurley? But now we just supposed to throw on the capes and we supposed to run to the defense of the Asians, and now we supposed to look over the fact that this girl was black and just concentrate on the fact that her father was Cambodian. Making it clear that the only reason why anybody is saying anything, the only reason why anybody is concerned, the only reason why they calling for an investigation, the only reason why they calling for anybody to look into it as a hate crime is because of her Asian part. And they go to cooning ass family willing to go along with this propaganda. They ain't got sense enough to be offended by the fact that the only reason why anybody gives a damn is because of the Asian aspect. Had she been just a plain old black woman, wouldn't nobody give a shit. Wouldn't nobody care. Wouldn't be no Asian attorney there. Wouldn't be no cameras there. No nothing. But the Asian community and mainstream media and the white supremacists see this as a way of further pushing their propaganda and their narrative. So they're going to try to use this. Forget that she black. Forget that her mama is black. And just focus on the fact that her father is Asian. Just focus on the Asian aspect. Because her blackness is not the part that we give a damn about. Her blackness does not fit our narrative. So of course this Article will be in the description box. You can go read it. You can hear the interview with the Coonan ass family and all of that. And but you know, this is just how far they're willing to go with this propaganda. But every time they come out with something new to try to push this narrative of black-owned Asian crime, the white supremacists come up and say, no, 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 no. We're not going to let you take the attention from us. I done told y'all, white supremacy is unleashed. It has been unleashed. See, the white supremacists, the white supremacist elite, the ones who are in control of this whole system and run this whole system. See, they thought they had these white supremacist puppets under control. They thought they had them on a leash and they could release them when they wanted to and pull them back when they wanted to. But that January 6th insurrection, when white supremacy just showed out, that was it. That was white supremacy breaking the leash. That was that beast breaking the leash and saying we will no longer be controlled. We will no longer be contained. You will no longer just throw us out there when you want to throw us out there and pull us back in. You understand what I'm saying? We have tasted blood. We have tasted the spotlight. And we want more. So even though the white supremacist groups like the Proud Boys, the 3%ers, the Oath Keepers, and others, even though they have been called back in to sit down, you understand what I'm saying? These individual white supremacists or suspected white supremacists are like, oh, no, 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 no. We're not going to allow the Asians and the blacks to get all the press, to get all the spotlight. Especially when they know that their whiteness is going to be protected. Their whiteness is going to keep them from being punished in any kind of real way. So it's backfiring on them. And the more they try to push this Asian against black, this black against Asian crime and hate and violence and all of that, the more white supremacists you gonna see jumping out doing stuff like what that dude did in Atlanta and like what the dude just did in Boulder, Colorado. Because the white supremacists have enjoyed their day in the spotlight and they're not gonna give it up. They're not going to give it up, especially since they know that there's no real punishment for them. They know that they're white supremacist masters. You understand what I'm saying? They know that the white supremacist elite who run this whole system are going to protect them, are going to get on code with them. They know that. So no, you won't have white supremacist groups going out doing anything, but you will have these individual suspected white supremacists going out doing these mass shootings and doing all kinds of stuff. Remember, we just had the suspected white supremacists at the gas station that followed those 3 black boys and shot them and killed 2 of them and left the other one in critical condition. It's been unleashed and it will not be tamed. And another thing, the far left, the far right, the alt-right, you understand what I'm saying? Those serious white supremacists on the far right were pretty much quiet about this whole stop Asian hate and this whole blacks against Asians and all of that. They were pretty quiet about this until the suspected white supremacist Robert Aaron Long did what he did in Atlanta. Now they coming out in droves. You understand what I'm saying? Now they on all the Twitter posts and all of this kind of stuff, trying to downplay white supremacy and trying to push this whole narrative of blacks have always committed violence against Asians and all of this kind of stuff. Why? Because again, they have to support white supremacy. What did I tell you? The first tenet of the white supremacy power structure is to protect whiteness at all costs. So where they weren't saying anything before, when it was just these same staged videos being presented over and over and over and over again, they didn't have anything to say. But now that the white supremacists have stepped up and the white supremacists are going out doing their thing, you understand what I'm saying, which is mass shooting. You know, we're not going to just kill one or two. We ain't going to just push somebody. We're not just going to spit on somebody. We're going to take down several people. Now, all of a sudden, the far right wants to involve themselves in this, and now all of a sudden, they got something to say. See, that's the reason why you see all of them on the posts now, on these social media posts and all of these comments trying to push this black on Asian crime and trying to act like it's something that always existed and it's always been there and all of that. Why? Because now they know that they got to get on code and they got to defend white supremacy. So now, let's get to the last thing I want to talk about. The last thing I want to talk about is something that, especially Tariq, Jason mentioned it as well, but especially Tariq harped on this. And he was telling us this month and a half ago when they first started this propaganda, this fake propaganda about this black on Asians violence. Tariq told us this. He told us that Biden was setting up for a new crime bill. Crime Bill 2021. Well, Fox2Detroit.com published this article. Our silence is complicity. Biden condemns anti-Asian hate after call for passage of COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act. This is by Stephanie Weaver, and it was published 5 days ago, which would have been around March the 19th. President Joe Biden called on Congress to swiftly pass the COVID-19 hate crimes bill, expediting the federal government's response to recent violent acts against the Asian community in the United States. Jill and I share in the nation's grief and outrage at the horrific killings of 8 people, among them 6 Asian American women, in Georgia on March 16th. I urge Congress to swiftly pass the COVID-19 Hate Crime Act. And I saw in a comment where somebody commented that Joe Biden now thinks he can get anything passed if he just put COVID-19 in front of it. You know, everything that he does now is COVID-19. The COVID-19 Relief Act, the COVID-19, this, that, and everything he does now, he tries to put COVID-19 in front of it. Right? So now this is the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act. I urge Congress to swiftly pass the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, which would expedite the federal government's response to the rise of hate crimes exacerbated during the pandemic, support state and local governments to improve hate crimes reporting, and ensure that hate crimes information is more accessible to Asian American communities. So Grace Ming and all the rest of them, of course, Mazi Hirono, especially Congressman Asian Pacific American Caucus chairperson Judy Chu, you know, all of them are a part of this whole thing. And Biden thanked them and their persistence in standing up for America's values by standing strongly against anti-Asian xenophobia and hate. Okay? During Biden's first week in office, now you got to remember this was during his first week when he signed that presidential memorandum, or that basically that executive order, you understand what I'm saying, for the Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. We done talked about that. Talking about to condemn and combat racism, xenophobia, and intolerance against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. Now it's time for Congress to codify and expand upon these actions, because every person in our nation deserves to live their lives with safety, dignity, and respect. And also, just to throw it in there, for this mass killing when this guy went in and killed these women in this massage parlor. They flew the flags at half-staff, right? All these black folks being killed when George Floyd was killed. And, you know, Biden likes to use George Floyd's name and use these the names of other black victims of white supremacy. He likes to use their names when he's introducing what he's going to do for other groups of people. But you notice, when these people were murdered, ain't no flags were flown half-staff. And I'm not just talking about when Trump was president. I'm talking about when Obama was president and Joe Biden was vice president. Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland, Philando Castillo, all of them. Most of them folks were killed during the Obama administration. Now Obama lit the White House up for LGBT in the LGBT colors. But we didn't see no flags being flown half-staff for none of those black folks. Those unarmed black folks that were killed by race soldiers. Okay? Now, since Biden mentions the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, let's go look at the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act. It is HR House Resolution 6721. That's what it is. It's House HR 6721, House Resolution 6721, COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act. And we're going to read the text of this thing. And of course, this link will be down in the description box so you can go see it and you can read it for yourself. The text is very short. Very short. Now, it was first introduced in the House. This is very important. It was first introduced in the House. Now, you got to remember, when COVID-19 first started to hit, back in December 2019, January 2020, February 2020, the Asian American community came out and started talking about the rise in hate crimes. They started talking about how they were being discriminated against, you know, how and then they were talking about the discrimination against them from the dominant society, from white folks, right? And Grace Mean came out and said that she had introduced this, I think it was $8 million or either $8 billion bill to help the Asian Americans with their businesses because they were losing their businesses. They were having to close down businesses and all of that. They started this whole thing against Trump because he called it the Chinese virus and all of that. And Trump made it very clear that he wasn't the first one to call it a Chinese virus, that all of these news organizations had called it the Chinese virus as well. CNN, the Associated Press, the BBC, and other major news organizations had first called it the Chinese virus. And in this video, you will see these screenshots of all of these different news organizations calling it the Chinese virus. You understand what I'm saying? They try to put that all on Trump, like Trump was the one that started that. No, Trump was not the first one to start calling it the Chinese virus. The actual news outlets and news organizations, mainstream media news organizations, were actually the first ones to call it the Chinese virus. Then when the Chinese got upset and started trying to call it racism, then they flipped the script and they started calling it the Wuhan virus. And the next thing you know, everybody's calling it the COVID-19. But mainstream media and the news outlets were the first ones to call it the Chinese virus, right? And that's where all of this xenophobia and all of this, and the Democrats accusing Trump of xenophobia and all of that, because he closed any travel. He did the travel ban from China. And And remember, Nancy Pelosi put out this whole video where she goes down in Chinatown and all of this and calls Trump xenophobic, and Biden did the same thing. You understand what I'm saying? But then they want to flip the script and act like Trump didn't do enough, and Trump didn't act in time, and Trump didn't handle this thing well. Well, when he was doing what he was supposed to do, y'all called the man xenophobic. When the bottom facts was, it was coming from China. Okay? So anyway, it was May 5th, 2020, when this bill, HR 6721, COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, first came out. That's when it first came out. That's when it was first introduced in Congress. Well, they couldn't get nowhere, and of course it was introduced by Representative Grace Ming. She was the one that was introducing all of this different legislation for all of this help for Asian Americans, because their businesses were suffering. Why? Because folks wasn't going to their businesses. You understand what I'm saying? White folks were attacking them. White folks were attacking them with all kind of racial slurs and all of this kind of stuff. Now, see, this is before they hopped on the train to try to act like it was black people. See, when this first started, it was white folks. It was the white folks attacking them. It was white folks calling them all kind of racial slurs. It was white folks spitting at them. It was white folks telling them to go back to China and take the China virus back to China with them and stuff like that. But they couldn't get it passed in May of 2020. So now that they have decided that they're going to target black people and make black people the victimizers and try to act like it's black folks that are committing all of this violence and all of this hate and all of that against the Asian people, now they think they can get it passed. So that's the reason why Biden is bringing it back up again. Okay, so let's read the text. Shown here, introduced in House 0505-2020, 16th Congress, second session, HR 6721, House Resolution, that's what HR stands for, House Resolution 6721, to facilitate the expedited review of COVID-19 hate crimes and for other purposes, right? In the House of Representatives, May 5th, 2020, Ms. Ming for herself, for Ted Lieu of California, Mr. Lowenthal, Mrs. Watson Coleman, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Pasquale, Mr. Lee of California, Mr. Hayes, Mr. Engel, Mr. Velasquez. You understand what I'm saying? Velasquez. There you go with your Hispanic black, your black brown coalition. Mr. Effenat, Mr. Blumenauer, Mr. Blumenauer, Miss Ocasio-Cortez, again with your black brown coalition. Mr. Lynch, Mrs. Napolitano, Miss Eshu, Mr. Kilmer, Mr. Suazi, Miss Jackson Lee, Miss Jackson Lee. For those of you who honestly believe that Sheila Jackson Lee is trying to get reparations for foundational black Americans, Miss Jackson Lee is the support of this right here. And Mr. Cisneros, introducing the following bill, which was referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. A bill to facilitate the expedited review of COVID-19 hate crimes and for other purposes. Now, this is the bill that Joe Biden is now pushing, now that he has signed the memorandum, the executive order for the Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. You understand what I'm saying? Which all of a sudden, all of this black violence against Asians didn't pop up and didn't become such a media sensation until after he signed this executive order, this memorandum. Now that all this has happened and all of these so-called attacks are being pushed by mainstream media. Now we're going to try to push getting this bill, Crime Bill 2021, passed in the Congress. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled. Section 1, short titled, this act may be cited as the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act. Section 2, review of COVID-19 hate crimes. Now, because the link is posted in the description box, anybody following me on the video, click on the link so that you can read along as I'm going. Section 2, review of COVID-19 hate crimes. A, in general, not later than 14 days after the date of the enactment of this act, the Attorney General shall designate an officer or employee of the Department of Justice the DOJ. Now, we ain't getting nothing like this. All the hate crimes committed against us. And statistically, it shows that hate crimes are committed against us more than anybody else. We don't get none of this. We don't get no memorandum. We don't get no executive order. We don't get no act. No House resolution. The Justice Department. Not later than 14 days after the date of the enactment of this act, the Attorney General shall designate an officer or employee of the Department of Justice whose sole responsibility during the applicable period shall be to facilitate the expedited review. Expedited means we're gonna rush it. We're gonna hurry it up. We're gonna put it at the top of the list. That's what expedited means. Review of COVID-19 hate crimes and reports of any such crime to federal, state, or local law enforcement agencies. You see what I'm saying? So all the Asians got to do is go make the report. And because it's an Asian that makes the report, you understand what I'm saying? Then somebody got to hurry up and they got to review it and they got to investigate it. Why? Because it's expedited, which means it's automatically put to the top of the list. Told you, it's very short. B, report on the date that is 30 days after the designation under Section 2. So 30 days after they designate this person who is an officer or an employee of the Justice Department. On the date that is 30 days after the designation under Section A, and every 30 days thereafter, the employee or officer or employee shall submit to Congress a report on the status of each case reviewed under subsection A, including any resources provided to complainants. So now they're talking about providing resources. So they don't define what resources are. They don't say, well, we provided them the resource of an officer to investigate or a detective to investigate or whatever. No. They just say any resources provided to the complainant. So the complainant would be that Asian person that has complained and said that a hate crime has been committed against them. So any resources could include money, loans, whatever, right? Any resources provided to the complainant, any actions taken to further the investigation of the incident, and any data disaggregated by race, ethnicity, socioeconomic background of the victim, and location of the occurrence. So they want to know the race of the person, the ethnicity of the person, the socioeconomic background of the victim, and the location of the occurrence. This is all the information that you have that this person that is an employee of the Department of Justice has to report back to Congress every 30 days. Section C, definitions. In this section, 1, the term applicable, I ain't never been able to say that word right, period, means the period beginning on the date on which the officer or employee is designated and ending on the date that is 1 year after the date on which the emergency period described in sub-paragraph B of section 1135G1 of the Social Security Act ends, except that the Attorney General may extend such period as appropriate. So the Attorney General can expand the period of time that this act is actually enforceable based on whether the Attorney General thinks it's appropriate or not. So this thing could go on as long as this particular Attorney General holds his office. And even if another Attorney General comes in, if that Attorney General says, okay, I believe this is appropriate, I believe this is something that we need to keep going, ongoing, or whatever, they can extend it. C, the term COVID-19 hate crime means a crime. Now, this is what you got to pay close attention to. The term COVID-19 hate crime means a crime of violence, as such term is defined under Title 18 United States Code. Well, let's see what Title 18 United States Code says. Because that's a broad section. As such term is defined under Title 18 United States Code. Okay. Let's see if we can find it. Chapter 1, General Provisions. Chapter 2, Aircraft and Motor Vehicles. Chapter 3, Animals, Birds, Fish, and Plants. Chapter 5, Arson. Chapter 7, Assault. Chapter 9, Bankruptcy. Chapter 10, Biological Weapons. So let's see exactly if they talk about hate crimes in here. I don't see nothing that pertains to hate crimes. So let's go to general provisions and see what they're saying. Because it doesn't give us a particular section, subsection, you understand what I'm saying, of 18 U.S. Code. It just says 18 U.S. Code, right? But they don't give us a subsection of what they're talking about. The term COVID-19 hate crime means a crime of violence, such as such term is defined under Title 18 United States Code. Okay, well, let's see what they say about violence. They talk about terrorism, torture, trafficking, war crimes, sexual assault, sexual abuse. So let's look and see if we can find out Title 18 United States Code. Okay. Definition of violent. Yeah, definition of violent crime. Okay, here it is. 18 U.S. Code, subsection 16. Crime of violence defined. The term crime of violence means 1. An offense that has the use, attempted use, or threatened use of physical force against the person or property of another, or any other offense that is a felony and that by its nature involves a substantial risk that physical force against the person or property of another may be used in the course of committing the offense. Okay, so that's the definition, and I'll link this also in the description box. That's the definition of crime of violence, right? So here we go again under Section C, definitions in this section. 2. The term COVID-19 hate crime means a crime of violence. As such term is defined under Title 18 United States Code that is motivated by A. The actual or perceived race, color, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability of any person, and B. The actual or perceived relationship to the spread of COVID-19 of any person because of the characteristics described in subparagraph A. So it's B that flips it and makes it about Asian Americans. Why? Because Asian Americans are the only ones that we know of that have been perceived to have a relationship to the spread of COVID-19. Right? That's the reason why, this is all about the Chinese virus and the fact that it's coming from China. You understand what I'm saying? And the fact that Asian American people were targeted because of the coronavirus and all of this kind of stuff. You understand what I'm saying? But if you want to flip it, you can flip it because the Chinese in China were mistreating the Africans. You understand what I'm saying? Beating them on the street, throwing them out of their apartments, and all of this kind of stuff. Why? Because they claimed that it was the Africans that brought coronavirus into China. So would they then be the victims of this COVID-19 hate crime? But that's it. That's the text of this bill. You understand what I'm saying? And so far, I haven't heard anybody that's trying to push all of this fake black violence against Asians. I haven't heard anybody say anything about black folks specifically saying that the reason why they're doing what they're doing to that Asian person is because they Asian or because they brought coronavirus over here. But this is the Crime Act. And now that they have all of these fake so-called attacks and these fake so-called incidents of black people attacking Asians and it being racist, the latest one was supposed to be on this New York on the subway, where this black guy just all of a sudden came up and hit this Asian man and said and just boldly said, "I'm hitting you because you a motherfucking Asian." But it was the same person that Andrew Yang supposedly stood up to during one of his rallies. And we're supposed to buy that all of this shit is real. But I just wanted to read it to you so that you can see what the bill actually says. It's very short. It's very short. And the only thing in it that would specifically lead you to Asian people is that part in section C, well, it's section 2, subsection C, under 2 of subsection C, B, that says the actual or perceived relationship to the spread of COVID-19 of any person because of their race, color, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability. That's what connects it to Asians. When they throw that whole COVID-19 thing in there. So I just wanted to read this to you and make it available to you so you can read it and you can know what they're trying to push. Right? Now, that's the only when you go to titles, when you click on titles, it says the short title, House of Representatives, COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act. Official titles, to facilitate the expedited review of COVID-19 hate crimes and for other purposes. I still ain't seen the other purposes. And that's that part that you'd have to be concerned about, the other purposes. Because they don't describe in the text, they don't talk about any other purposes. Even if you click on the PDF, it's the same thing. And you don't see anything about any other purposes. Okay, so what are the other purposes? What are the other purposes? We know that they slipped that in there where they can actually give resources to the complainants, to anybody who's complaining. Anybody who's saying that a hate crime is being committed against them. Because remember, in section B of subsection B of section 2, it says that one, any resources provided to complainants. So what's the other purposes? Because again, the title of this thing is to facilitate and expedite review of COVID-19 hate crimes and for other purposes. So what are the other purposes? So I wanted to give y'all this so you could see what Biden is pushing to try to get Congress to pass. You understand what I'm saying? And then if Congress passes this as it's written and they don't define in this act what other purposes are and for other purposes, okay, well, Congress can, at any point, Congress can interpret that to mean whatever they want it to mean. And they can expand this thing to do other things because it says for other purposes and nobody is demanding that they define what those other purposes are. So that's the reason why we've got to be against HR 6721. We've got to be against it. Why? Simply because of that for other purposes. Because they're not defining. You understand what I'm saying? They're not specifying what these other purposes are. So what is the other purpose? What are the other purposes for this bill? If it's not just to deal with COVID-19 hate crimes, okay, then what's the other purposes for it? What are the other reasons why you need this bill? If it's not just to deal with so-called COVID-19 hate crimes. See, it was written that way for a purpose. But as I said, you see how short the text is. And nowhere in the text does it deal with for other purposes. So like I said, this as well as the U.S. Code Section 18 for the definition of crime of violence and all of that. All of this information will be in the description box, so you can go in and you can figure out for yourself, and you can read for yourself, and you can know for yourself what what this act is actually calling for. And it defines everything that has to do with the COVID-19 hate crimes. What it does not define, what it does not specify, what it does not spell out is the part for other purposes. And that's the dangerous part. That's the real dangerous part for black folks. Because you got to remember, when they first wrote this act out, they weren't targeting black folks, and they weren't trying to make black folks the face of violence against Asians. At that time, it was still just white folks that were committing all of these acts of violence against white folks. Now all of us against Asians. Now all of a sudden, they're trying to push this propaganda of black folks and violence against Asians. And now they decide that they want to bring this House resolution back up. This COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, they want to bring it back up and try to get it passed now. And then you have to ask yourself, was what we're seeing now their plan back in May of 2020 when they first came up with this? Almost a year ago, when they first came up with this, was that their plan then? That they knew eventually they would push this propaganda of blacks against Asians? Is that the reason why they put that wording in there and for other purposes? So we got to know what's going on. We got to read these acts. We got to know exactly what they're planning on doing. So we have got to now start a campaign against HR 6721. Just like we did when Bobby Rush decided he was going to introduce that HR, what was it? 6666 or something like that. And we did a campaign against that. We're going to have to do a campaign against this HR 6721. Why? Because they're not defining that and for other purposes. So that's just what I wanted to bring y'all. I wanted to bring y'all these updates, let y'all know what was going on with some of these other cases that have already come forward. And I definitely wanted to show how they're trying to use what happened to this black woman in Compton. You understand what I'm saying? Just totally dismissing the fact that she was black. Just totally dismissing the fact that her mama was black. And instead of her black family being insulted by that, you know, these coons gonna play along, like I said, because they probably done promised them a little bit of change or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? And they done already sent in this Asian American woman to be the representative and all of that, you know, and to break down this HR 6721, this so-called COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, to break that down so that you can know what it says, and more important than what it says is what it doesn't say. You understand? So y'all make sure that you get down in that description box, that you watch these videos about Albert Wilson. You understand? So you can understand how his whole case went down, what his whole case involved, the whole 9 yards. And you can understand, you know, part of the reason why this young man has a new trial. We need to support him. We need to, you know, be in solidarity with him, because this type of shit has got to stop. The whole thing with him was just absolutely ridiculous. And once you get into the facts of the case through these different videos and links that are a part of those videos, you can see how that whole thing was just ridiculous from the fucking start, right? But more importantly, make sure you get into this text and make sure that we start doing this hashtag no HR 6721 or no COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act. And simply because my main reason is because they have not defined or specified what these and other purposes are. What are the other purposes of this act? If the sole purpose of this act is not to protect certain people from COVID-19 hate crimes, then what's the other purposes? And if we let them pass this act with it wide open like that, then they can throw anything in after the fact. Why? Because it was passed wide open like that. So we got to get on the ball. We got to get on the ball, and you'll see the hashtag in this video. So, you know, y'all make sure that you like this video. We need those thumbs up. Make sure that you like this video. Make sure that you share this video. Make sure that you have these conversations. Like I always say, on social media and off social media, have these conversations. Talk to people. You understand what I'm saying? Make sure that people understand what this HR 6721 is about and what Biden and the Democrats are trying to pass. Because with that and other purposes not being defined and not being specified, you understand what I'm saying? They can put other language in later on. They can interpret it to be whatever they want it to be, and it's that part of it that will be used to target black folks. So make sure you're talking about this stuff. Make sure you're having these conversations. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. For those of you who are subscribed, for those who comment, for those who support, let me know. Let me let you know that I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. From the bottom of my heart. You are the reason why I do this. Because I sure enough ain't making no money off of none of these videos. All of them are demonetized. I mean, I don't even do the the monetization thing. I don't even bother with doing that no more. Because they demonetize most of my videos anyway. So I don't even bother with trying to make no money off of these videos anymore. Hit that bell notification so you can be notified when we upload videos. And, you know, let's just let's keep the information flowing. Let's talk to each other. Let's know what's going on, and let's find out what we need to do as individuals to push our agenda, the foundational Black American agenda, which is the agenda of Black empowerment. Again, if you're on code, stay on code. If you're not on code, get on code as soon as possible. And understand again that being on code simply means you follow a specific code of conduct. A code of conduct that says that you will not do or say anything, especially publicly, that will be a detriment or a harm to the foundational Black community as a whole. All right? So that's it for this video. I'll be back with y'all as soon as I have some updates on some other things. There are some other things that I need to talk about. So I'll be back with y'all soon. Y'all stay safe and stay on code.